The perspectives shared by the participants in this podcast are solely their own and not intended as medical advice. For any health issues, we strongly recommend seeking guidance from a licensed professional.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Rare Realities with Madimo Mimo Mokgosi, where we dive into the emotions of individuals living with rare conditions. Imagine going to the doctor and coming back with a diagnosis that it can either be cured, cannot be cured, or you have to live with it for the rest of your life, where we tell one story at a time. Today, I have a very special guest. I think this one is closer to home. V, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
So
for having me.
V was diagnosed with
Chronic kidney disease.
hypertension at the age of 2.
Yes.
So V, please share with us first who you are before the condition.
Well, I am Vuyisa Magidela, and I think a lot of people know me because of spreading health education and awareness on social media.
Of course.
I have a condition called chronic kidney disease. I actually had high blood pressure, hypertension. I was diagnosed at the age of 2, which led to my kidneys failing. So 13 years later, my kidneys shut down because of the damage I had from having high blood pressure.
Hectic.
So my chronic disease is secondary to high blood pressure.
Oh, okay. So 13 years later to the 2 years, when you found out, how old were you?
I was about 13. So I think it's 11 years later. I was diagnosed as 2. And when I was 13, I was put on dialysis. So it's 11 years.
Okay. So you are a child. You just found out that both your kidneys or just one?
Both the kidneys. You can live with one kidney. But in this case, it was 2 kidneys that shut down.
Okay. Yeah. Both your kidneys just shut down. How were you feeling? I don't think you understood at that age. But how was the explanation?
So I think what made it easier for me is, remember, from 2 years, I had to go in every second Tuesday of the month to go for checkups, to make sure that I do my blood, I get my medication, until I needed to be on dialysis. So I think it was not so bad for me because when I was 13 years old, I was only starting high school. Okay. And when 2 weeks, I was at a local school in Soweto. And 2 weeks that I started the school, high school, they called my grandparents to say that you need to bring Vuyisa to the hospital school because she needs to start dialysis. There is a school, it's a normal school that caters normal education, but then with more understanding. If you're admitted, you can still do your exams, you can still go to class. It's situated inside the hospital. So for me, obviously it was upsetting to leave my local school, but then to go to school and I find other kids that are like me. You know, we all, when it's dialysis time, we all leave the school and actually go to the ward to do our dialysis treatment thing. So I felt like it was not so bad because it was just not me. It's different when you're battling with something and you're the only person who has to understand. But then when I went to the school, there were other kids on dialysis. Oh, okay. And I made friends. And the next thing, we're doing a competition thing to say who's going to finish lining and clearing up and cleaning and disinfecting. Yeah. It was never, I think it really hit me at a later stage when I was older, where I needed to now be responsible and work and everything. But when I was young, it wasn't so bad because I was not the only child, you know? Okay. At the hospital school, there were lots of kids on dialysis. Okay. You know?
For someone who doesn't know what dialysis is, can you please explain the process?
Okay. So for you to understand what dialysis is, you need to know the functions of a kidney. Okay. So the kidney helps clear out the toxins in your body, your waste products in the body. It helps regulate blood pressure, and it helps remove fluid in your body. So if your kidneys are not working, then the dialysis machine comes in. It does the function of a kidney. Okay. So when we go for dialysis, I'm actually there because remember, dialysis patients, we don't pass urine. So then, we'll come to that. It's always a shock when I tell people.
It's always a shock.
It's always a shock, I know. So then, the dialysis machine helps me remove fluid from my body. And it clears out all the toxins from my blood.
Do you know what the cause was?
Of what?
Of Hypertension, maybe let's start there.
Yeah. I remember I said to my doctor, I said, does it make sense for a 2-year-old
Yeah.
to have hypertension? I said, it doesn't make sense. You know, we think hypertension comes from being old or having so much stress. I said, at 2 years old, what could have been the reason?
Yeah.
And one of the doctors tried to explain to me that it could have been that you were born with it, but only your
Okay.
parents noticed the symptoms at a later stage.
Okay.
So the doctor, when we opened my file to go through my history, it also mentioned that I was polycystic. So it means that my kidneys were full of cysts around them.
Yeah.
So it may have been that I was born with it,
Mhm.
but because of the hypertension, they thought it was secondary to that. But the one doctor, when I had a conversation with him, he said he doesn't think it's hypertension.
Would you say it's an autoimmune thing?
Not really. An autoimmune thing is different. It's when your immune system is attacking your own.
Yeah.
With me,
totally
remember
agree.
with people, you can be born with an illness and just you discover at a later stage.
Oh, okay.
You know, yeah. I don't think so.
Sure. And then I know that you did a transplant
Mhm.
at one point. And then can you please share a little bit on that and what happened?
Okay. I remember I was getting ready to go to a party and we had a phone call to say, whatever you are doing, come straight to the hospital. There's a kidney that matches with you. At that time, I had been 4 years on dialysis. So then I was on the transplant list. And I mean, obviously, somebody registered to be an organ donor because they had an accident and they said, there's a kidney, you need to come to the hospital as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I got to the hospital, we did tests, bloods, and all the stuff to get it ready. And then the following morning, I was sent to theater to get a kidney to be transplanted.
Like I know most people would be listening and most watching and they thinking to themselves, but it is so easy. Well, it's not easy to get a kidney.
Yeah.
Yes, that too. And not a lot of people are willing to
Yeah.
donate. I know that when I was doing my research that there are people that have been on the wait list
Yeah.
since
For
their
the
whole
longest time.
life. Yeah.
Well, the truth is, there is myth around donating organs, especially with us, the African people.
Sure.
Because remember, with us, there's people, I remember we did this, we were doing a survey. We were on the street asking different people what do they think about organ donation. And we had
Yeah.
all different answers from, I have royal blood in me. I can't donate any of my part.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to me if I wake up? What's going to happen when I die with one? You know, all sorts of
Yeah,
questions. There's
true.
lack of information
True.
and there's lack of understanding. And also, like we're saying, it's rare.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking to myself the other time, I said, would I have known about chronic kidney disease or dialysis and all these things if I was not sick? I don't know anybody from our neighborhood. I don't know anybody from family. I don't have any friends. The friends that I have got this condition is the friend I met because I was amongst them. So it's rare. If I wasn't sick, I wouldn't know about this. So spreading education is one thing I do on social media
Yeah.
to try and spread and change people's minds with donating their organs. But I know that we still have a long way to go in giving health
Sure.
education about it and educating people that you can actually live with one kidney. There
Yeah.
are people born with one kidney. There are people who have been involved in car accidents. They've had damage to the one kidney and they're still living with the one kidney. You know, so you can live with one kidney, but the thing is, it's lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know something, you don't want to be a part of it because you're also thinking you're at risk. What happens if I give you my kidney? It's a big decision to do.
Yeah, true.
You know, yeah.
Just to add on, yeah, one person can save 8 lives. So please, guys, do donate. I was also saved by someone I will never get to know.
Yeah.
But a part of them still lives on, you know?
Mhm.
And so what happened to the one that you were given?
I was transplanted with.
Yeah,
So remember, when you have a kidney transplant, it's a foreign organ in your body.
true,
So our immune system fights the kidney.
true.
Okay. But they'll put you under immunosuppressants. Immunosuppressants are tablets to make your immune system sleep so it does not
Recognize
fight
the foreign
kidney, you
yeah.
know? So then obviously the one thing that went wrong is when they did the initial transplant, 2 hours post-surgery, there was a complication. I was bleeding internally because the urine bag was full of blood in it. And they noticed, and I had to be rushed back to theater to try and correct it. So that was corrected, and the kidney managed to last 2 years.
Mhm.
But then I started having complications with the ureter blocking. So the ureter is the tube that transports urine from the kidney to the bladder. So if it blocks, it means that the urine with the toxins in it stays around the kidney and infects
Yeah.
and causes the kidney to have infection. So that was the case with mine. We had it. I had that. And the doctors tried to save it, and they took one of my old ureters from my old kidneys to try and replace the one that's been through the trauma. And I think 4 months later, the same thing happened. And the doctors are like, you know what, even if we try to take the ureter from the other kidney, it's too risky considering the fact that your kidney has been through trauma with all the infections. So the best decision we can take is to take out the kidney and put you back on dialysis so that if you then have another transplant, if something like this happens, at least we have a ureter that could try save the other one.
So what did they take out?
They took out the kidney. So remember with us, we've got kidneys there.
Yes.
And then we've got the ureter connected to the bladder. So the ureter, which is the tube that transports urine from the kidney to the bladder, was blocked.
Okay.
So they tried to put it a stent to save it, but it blocked again. And in the end, they resorted to using my old ureter from my kidneys that are not working. Because the ureters are still there, even though the kidneys are not working. So that's what they did. But then, unfortunately, for the third time with the ureter they took from my old kidneys, the same thing happened.
Hectic.
You see?
So when you go for a kidney transplant, they do not remove your old ones.
They don't, unless there's issues. Unless there is maybe they're aching or there's some issues.
Oh, okay.
Like with mine, the doctor said to me, in future, I may have a problem because the cysts are getting bigger. So as soon as I feel like I have a severe backache and everything, I should come back so I go do sauna so they can find out what's happening because they can take them out. So now they're getting big and they're full of cysts around them.
So post your kidneys failing again, do you ever consider going back on the wait list? I mean, it's been years. It's been years.
I know. I've been on dialysis for 14 years now. From 2011. It's 14 years. But at some point, after what I went through when I lost my kidney, I feel like I was very depressed.
Yeah.
It was very sad for me to lose my transplanted kidney because for the whole 4 years that I was on dialysis prior getting a transplant, my only hope to survival and living my life to the maximum quality was getting a transplant. And when I had a transplant, I got into a learnership. I got a job as a travel consultant. You know, I had already issues with because remember on dialysis, even though the dialysis machine is good for us, but it's also bad for our bones.
Yeah.
You know, I had issues with my legs. I had to undergo surgery. And when I had a kidney transplant, my calcium was normal. I remember I said the last time that I started my menstrual cycle, my weight. Remember also being on dialysis affects your sleeping pattern, your appetite, your weight, all these things, you know. And when you have a kidney transplant, it's like you're born again. It's like a new lease at life. Like it's, you know, and when I had that, I was very grateful and I could live like everybody else. And when it rejected, it was devastating to lose my kidney.
Sure.
You know, so when I was asked if I would consider going back on the list, I said, you know what, give other patients a chance.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to. The fact that there's a risk of me losing the kidney and going through that, I want to put a hold on it a little.
And was there ever a family member that came through and said, hang on, I've seen you go through so much. I am happy to help you with the kidney?
Well, there's been my uncle was one of them. My aunt was one of them. My 2 cousins was one of them. And amongst them, prior surgery, they don't want to do it anymore. They're scared, which is understandable, but devastating for me.
I understand.
And, you know, so there's been, but I feel like, unfortunately for me, I'm an orphan. My mom and dad died when I was 10 years old. And unfortunately, I don't have any brothers or sisters. I always say that I feel like if I had a biological sister or brother, because my mom and dad were not matches. They didn't match with me. Because I remember some point, we had a conversation with the doctor before my mom died, you know, to say that she's going to have total kidney damage. So she may need a transplant. And when they did test, both of them were not matches.
Yeah.
You see. So then, unfortunately for me, with not having any brothers or sisters, I don't have anybody who could say, V, I'm sick of seeing you suffer like this. I want to make a difference and give you my kidney.
I think it's very scary because, like you said, most people are very misinformed about what happens.
It's also a very big decision. I feel like you need to really, really love somebody to be willing to put your life at risk for them.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like your immediate family is the one that could say, we've had enough with you suffering like this.
Also, I'm sure it comes back to, okay, now we know that I've got 2 kidneys. If I give one away and I end up now having a problem with
So that's the good thing
remaining
about
one.
that is that the hospital will not take your kidney without making sure that you're not going to suffer later on in the stages.
Okay.
So obviously you go through a psychologist. You
Mm.
do all the tests to make sure that you're okay. So
Yeah.
they'll do everything they will even try and find out family history. Because also, if there's somebody in your family that's hypertensive, you are also at risk of having high
True.
blood pressure in future. So things like that, they investigate it. It's not just a thing where you go to the hospital, I'm going to give my kidney, and it goes.
Yeah.
So they investigate. It's a whole long process that could take even a year. So it's not just a matter of just taking it, and they need to make sure that you've had kids before, you are healthy, and all sorts of things.
And then do you know if, because I'm sure most people would like to know if dialysis has a period, like you can only have it for, let's say, like 15 years, and then you can't actually like continue with it.
It doesn't have a period.
It's a lifetime
Once
thing.
you're on, it's a chronic illness. Chronic means forever. There's no point where you can stop dialysis. Once you put on dialysis, it means you need dialysis to survive. So the only time you stop dialysis is if you get a kidney transplant or you die.
Shucks.
That's the only time.
And how many times do you go for
I go
dialysis?
3 times a week. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, religiously without fail. I have to be at the
See
hospital
how
for
hectic
dialysis.
it is to find this woman, guys. Because she'll tell you, my life comes first. My life comes first. Now to touch base on I know this is like, it's a shock. It's a shock to me, and it's probably a shock to everybody else, that when your kidneys are not functioning, you do not pee.
Yeah. So remember, the kidney is also responsible to help you pass urine.
Yeah.
So remember, I said it's the kidneys, it's the ureter, it's the bladder. And then we've got a urethra, which transports urine outside. So if the kidneys are not working, the process of fluid getting into the kidneys, being filtered by the kidneys to go out, it's not working. So if the kidneys are not working, there's no way you can pass urine. You can't pass urine with the kidneys not working, because one of the responsibilities of kidneys is to help you pass urine.
Mm-hmm. So a day, do you limit yourself in the liquid taking? I'm asking the wrong person. Like,
I try my best, because I'm allowed to have 750 mils of fluid. This includes tea, yogurt, gravies, juice, Coke, whatever that's fluid needs to be within the 750 mils.
And I tell you now, guys, V will choose Coke over any liquid.
I was looking at the time, like, is there a chance for me to go quickly and grab some Coke for myself?
Over Coke. Because I know some people would think that Coke is not good for you.
Coke is generally not good for everybody. Whether you've got a chronic illness or not, Coke is high in sugar and high in phosphate, and it's generally not good. I always try and tell people that follow me, because I always get this question all the time. V, why do you drink so much Coke? V, why do you drink so much Coke? But then I always try and explain to say that, remember, the purpose of dialysis is to help you filtrate toxins from your body.
Okay.
So now, remember, every month as a renal patient on dialysis, we take bloods to see whether the dialysis machine is you are coping, and the dialysis machine is actually removing toxins from your body. So now, there are times where you find that the dialysis machine is removing too much from your body.
Yeah.
And you have to be admitted to be supplemented. So with me, unfortunately for me, well, no, I can't say unfortunately, it's fortunate, because it gives me an allowance to drink Coke and get away with eating wrong stuff. So renal patients are not allowed to have such foods high in potassium and high in phosphate. The dialysis machine is there to help you remove all of those electrolytes. So in most cases, a lot of patients have high electrolytes. They're not balanced because the kidney is not there to filtrate. Mm-hmm. So with me, we don't know why. I remember I was saying the other time I was called into the sisters in charge's office to say, V, is there anything that you're doing that you could advise other patients to do? Because this is not normal for a renal patient on dialysis to have such good results.
Wow.
I said, there is nothing. They even accused me to say that maybe you're passing urine, you're just not saying. I said, how can I hide such a beautiful thing? I'm not passing urine.
I'm sure
There's
the
no
whole
way.
world would know.
If I had something, I would advise everybody. I'm all about giving health education. So with me, I don't like meat. So I made a video online trying to educate people about factory farming, to say that a lot of people love meat. You can't tell an African person not to have meat. We love meat as Africans. With me, I don't like meat. Meat has a lot of toxins, because it's not, there's free range And then there's meat that's pumped up with penicillin and all these things to make it grow quicker than it, you know. So when I was reading about that, because now when I was reading about factory farming, it's a benefit for me because I don't like meat. So I only have meat seldomly because generally I don't like it.
Okay.
And that has helped me. That's my advantage because I have less toxins in my body because of that. So, I mean, plant-based diet is beneficial for somebody who's on dialysis because then the toxins in the body are less. So now when I get to dialysis, the dialysis machine drops the toxins in the body to a point where I will be admitted to supplement myself with potassium or phosphate in the body because now it's so low. Remember, it can't be too low. It can't be too high. The dialysis machine is there to make sure everything is balanced and according to what it should be. So fortunately for me, I can't say unfortunately because I love this about the whole thing. With not eating meat, it has helped me. It's an advantage for me because then my electrolytes and the waste products in my body are not so bad. So I am actually allowed to have Coke. I'm allowed to have banana. I'm allowed to have all the fruits that other patients can have because of that one thing that's going on with me, with having low electrolytes in the body. So that's an advantage for me, and I'm so grateful for it.
Now, do you mind sharing your? I see you like very scarred.
Yeah.
And that's because of the dialysis.
Yeah, this is where this is like I don't know if a camera can catch it. I don't know if I can. So this is like a line that a lot of it's called an AV graft.
Okay.
That a lot of dialysis patients have. You either have the one on the chest, which is the permanent catheter, or you have one that's an AV graft or a fistula. So with me, my veins are not strong enough to have a fistula. I have an AV graft. An AV graft is an artificial vein artery that's created in your hand to create a massive vein so they can cannulate you.
Oh, okay.
So every dialysis session, I get 2 needles poked in here. One needle takes out the blood from the body into the machine to be filtrated, and then back with the other needle. So it's a period of going out into the machine to be cleaned in, and then back in the body. So it's a process for 4 hours every second day.
How do you keep positive? Like, I mean, like, this is, I understand you're strong, but it does get tiring, I'm sure.
It does get tiring, but you need to get to a point. Remember, as a chronic patient, chronic means permanent, okay?
Yeah.
And if you were diagnosed with something that's permanent, you either have to make a decision whether you're going to be depressed for the rest of your life or make the most of what you can, If in 7 days, I've got 4 days to myself where I need to run my business, do other stuff, see my grandparents, and, do whatever and be here and stuff. With the other 3 days, I'm at the hospital. You find ways to make it work with yourself. I was depressed at some point. I remember I did an article with True Love magazine, and when I read the magazine, I'm like, oh my God. I tried to commit suicide 3 times by the age of 17. Mm-hmm. So I know that I have not always been this positive, but I just got tired of feeling sorry for myself. I was suicidal. I think more especially when I lost my mom, it got more harder because my mom was there for me all the time. So when I lost my mom and I was by myself, my grandparents would try to be there, but I mean, they're old. They can't fully understand everything and be there through this journey with me, But they've always tried the support. They pray for me. But with me having to learn things, if they say now you got to learn how to do peritoneal dialysis, the training, I'm there by myself. You see other patients, they're there with their mothers or their sisters. They're there to help so that if the patient is not feeling okay, they can step in to help them. I had to go through training and learning everything by myself. And even when I was not feeling well, I had to pull myself together and actually get up to do it because I had nobody who was going to do it for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like with every condition, with everybody who's diagnosed, even if it's a minor thing, I mean, if it's going to change your life in a way, it is depressing. Especially with us on dialysis, it's quite hard for us to get jobs because who's going to employ you when you're supposed to be at the hospital 3 times a week? It makes it harder, But I feel like I do understand when a lot of people get depressed and they give up on themselves and everything. But also, I feel like you can't give up forever.
Yeah.
As soon as you familiarize yourself with everything, your medication, with how everything is done, and you kind of have understanding with what you have, your condition, you can then pick yourself up to say, okay, cool, this is how my life is now. Where do I go from here? How do I change? If you used to do this on Friday and you can't do it anymore, what is it that you can then do? You don't just give up and say, because of this, I mean, it's like I say, it's totally understandable to go through it. It's totally understandable to give up, but you can't be sick for 14 years and then you still give up
Feeling
on yourself
sorry
for
for yourself. Yeah.
give up, dwell in it, be upset, shut everybody out, feel your emotions and get up. At some point, pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Especially when you realize that you're not the only person. There are a lot of people on dialysis in different countries, abroad. There's a lot of us on dialysis. But it all depends with you whether you actually want to be sad for the rest of your life and just dwell in being sick and feel sorry for yourself and not do anything. You know?
True.
You just find ways around it.
Would you share the symptoms of kidney failure? What are the main things that you can pick up? And
the thing is, they're so common. That's why a lot of people don't go, because it's not like you're going to get... Well, the one major one is backache. A lot of people experience backache. A lot of people experience either urinating a lot or urinating less.
Oh, okay.
And others experience swelling. There's edema. You get fluid sitting in different parts of your body, your stomach, your ankles, your face. You get puffy on your face. And another one I can think of is tiredness. A lot of renal patients they feel very tired. Others have insomnia in the beginning. They'll tell you they've got sleepless nights.
Yeah.
And then others experience nosebleed. Others experience severe headaches. So because of how common these are, I mean, you can have a nosebleed for any reason. You can have a headache for any reason.
Yeah.
You can have a backache for any reason. So, I mean, you could carry heavy stuff and just think, no, it's because I was cleaning today and moving stuff. That's why I'd say it's always wise, especially if in your family, there is somebody who has a chronic illness already. So the number one thing, if somebody in the family has hypertension, like your mom, your grandparents, so forth, have hypertension or sugar diabetes, you are at risk of having the same, and that will lead to kidney disease.
Okay.
So now, if for instance, I didn't know I was sick and I was healthy, for the fact that my grandmom has it and my grandparents have it, then it's wise that I go check just to make sure that even if it's... Remember with the chronic illnesses, it doesn't just go. It takes time. Like with me, remember I said I had hypertension when I was 2 years old?
Yeah.
And it took 11 years before my kidneys shut down.
Yeah.
So things go gradual. So now if you go check maybe once a year to just check your kidney function, check your high blood pressure, all these things, if they catch it when it's sooner, then they can give you medication to prolong this whole process for you being sick, just like that. Because a lot of people, they just collapse on the floor and then it's too late. When they check, you're there on the floor, the kidneys are on end stage chronic disease, there's nothing else you can do. But if they catch it on stage 1, they can give you medication to prolong this whole process of you losing your kidney.
Okay. I'm going to get deep now into your emotions. I'd like to know, so I take it because you do not pass urine, you don't also go on your periods?
No, fortunately, I don't know why. I go on my menstrual cycle.
You do?
Yes, I do.
So are you able to fall pregnant?
So you can fall pregnant on dialysis, but it's quite hard to fall pregnant on dialysis. First of all, remember, as a pregnant woman, you need to be healthy enough so the child is formed properly. So your electrolytes are proper, your hemoglobin is proper and everything. Us on dialysis already, we have anemia. We already have imbalanced electrolytes. So what they do is, if you do wish, you can talk to the doctor so they prepare your body and help you through a healthy pregnancy. So you talk to the doctor, say, doctor, I want to get pregnant. And then they'll refer you to a gynae who will work with the renal doctors to prescribe dialysis that's different from somebody who's not wanting to be pregnant. For instance, when you're pregnant, when you want to fall pregnant, you have to dialyze for every day.
Yeah.
So now instead of dialyzing 3 times a week, if you decide to fall pregnant on dialysis, you need to dialyze 6 days a week.
What happens when you miss your dialysis?
So
Or you can make it.
Well, I've missed my dialysis, but I don't advise anybody to. I was just being silly. I went on holiday and I thought I could do it. And I came back super overloaded. I won't advise anybody to miss their dialysis. I've missed my dialysis before and I've shared the implications online to say, look at me now. My stomach was extended full of fluid. I could not breathe properly. So you don't miss dialysis. I have before, but I still say, don't do it. It's not worth it.
So this means you can't go anywhere.
You can't go anywhere. You need to plan around it. So if I need to travel, like recently I went to Western Cape, I changed my dialysis days from Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I went on dialysis in the morning and I took a flight post-dialysis. So then I get there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, flight back, Tuesday, back on dialysis. So you only have 3 days to travel, 2.5 days.
Do you need to go to the same place or you can go to another province?
You can, because I know one of the sisters was suggesting, why don't you dialyze that side? I was like, no, I'm actually more comfortable with dialyzing this side. I once changed hospitals and I'm telling you, I ran away. there's a hospital in Soweto that when I studied at the Market Theatre, when I was doing drama,
Mm-hmm.
I had a very good role there. And I thought to myself, I want to be there every day and rehearse like everybody. And I asked my doctors to please transfer me to another hospital that had night dialysis, because we don't have night dialysis. But the hospital I went to had night dialysis. So I said, can't I dialyze there for the next 3 months, because I'm going to be
Yeah.
rehearsing. And the doctors called in, they wrote me a referral, everything was fine, and I went to the hospital. I'm telling you, within 3 weeks, I ran away. I literally took my file, put it in my bag, and I ran away from the hospital. I had an infection. I had an access line there.
Mm.
And within 2 weeks of having the infection, within 2 weeks of being in that hospital, I had an infection. And I remember I said I wanted to see the doctor in charge of the renal department. And I said to the doctor, it has been a whole week of you guys saying that I should come through. You're going to help me with antibiotics and get me a different access line. And nothing's been happening. This is the third time I come in. Can you please refer me back to my hospital? And they sort me out. And the doctor was like, nope, you're going to make our hospital look like it's neglecting you. We've got negligence and all of that. We're not going anywhere. We're going to sort you out. And okay, when can I come back again? They said, come back tomorrow. I was there tomorrow and I was told to go back because they're handling emergency. And I was like, you know what? I will not wait for this. And I just took my file there, whatever I had from the doctors, a summary of the doctor's notes. And I went back to my doctors. And I'm telling you, the following day I was in theater to get it sorted. So I don't want to be in a different hospital. I feel very comfortable in our hospital. And in my opinion, Charlotte Macdake Academic Hospital is the best one for me. I was there from the age of 2, and now I'm in my early 30s.
Today.
And with every, I've had an oophorectomy, a removal of one of my ovaries. I've had correctional knee surgery to reconstruct my knees.
Yeah.
I've had hernia. They've sorted me out. I've had peritonitis. They've sorted me out. I've had a clot in my brain at some point. They sorted me out. I've had panic attacks. I've had all sorts of things. I've been seen by psychologists. All sorts of things I've had in the period of with me having this chronic illness. And every single thing I've had, the transplant, the rejection of the transplant, the sorting me out, post-surgery, everything in that hospital, I've came out stronger.
Still here.
And I'm still here. So I don't want to go anywhere.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, is it the dialysis or the kidney failure that also affects your pigmentation?
Pigmentation. So it's not the dialysis machine. I made a mistake. I was giving health education on that because I was explaining to people why I decided to bleach my skin. And a lot of people are against it. Oh my God, you hate yourself. You don't love yourself. And I was like, it's okay. You don't understand where I'm coming from. So when I was explaining, I said the dialysis machine makes you darker. And somebody commented to say, no, it's not actually the dialysis machine that's making you darker. It's the toxins in your body.
Oh, okay.
So all the toxins in your body are the ones that's making your skin darker.
Interesting.
Mm-mm.
Interesting. So can you give a message to someone who is now refusing to be on dialysis? They just found out that their kidneys are failing. Now they have to go on the wait list, but they just refuse. While waiting, they refuse to go on to
No,
dialysis.
first of all, you will not be put on the waiting list if you're not on dialysis. As the patients on
okay.
dialysis, if you refuse dialysis, then it's palliative care. You go home to die. I'm just going to put it like that. It's the truth. If your kidneys failed, the only option for you is the dialysis treatment or a kidney transplant. So if you refuse dialysis, you are going to die. Because if you refuse dialysis, you are saying that every day a person eats. We drink, we eat. Every time you put something in your body, you put in toxins in your body.
Yeah.
Everything you put in your mouth, it gets to the body as a toxin. And it needs to be filtered out by the kidney. And if your kidney is not working, it stays in the body and starts to make you sick. If your potassium is too high, it starts putting pressure on your heart. Your phosphate, all this, if the electrolytes go super high, we have patients that lose their mind because of the amount of toxins in their body. So eventually you will lose your mind. You will get swollen up with a big tummy. You will drown in your old fluid and you will die. So if your kidneys fail, there's no way that you can refuse dialysis. To be given an opportunity to be on dialysis is actually a thing. What do you say?
It's a lifesaver.
It's a lifesaver. Actually, it's you getting a second chance at life. There's a lot of people who are being turned on because of the amount of people who are on dialysis now and the amount of people who are not willing to donate organs. I've been on dialysis for 14 years. So if I had a kidney transplant, I'd be off dialysis to give a newly diagnosed patient an opportunity to be put on dialysis. Because there's nobody, a lot of people are not donating organs. It means us patients who are already on dialysis, we stay there for a long time, which means that we are occupying the dialysis centers, and the newly diagnosed patients in the government public hospitals, there's no longer space for the newly diagnosed patients. They are sent to private hospitals, and not everybody can afford to be dialyzed at a private hospital. So now most of them, I had an uncle of mine in 2022 that died because they needed dialysis and they could not help him.
Yeah.
Because people like us are occupying the dialysis centers because we are not moving. We're not going anywhere. We are sitting there for years and years and years because we're not getting any transplants.
Sure.
You know?
Yo, I wish we could have this conversation for longer, for days, you know? But thank you so much for sharing. And now, what's that one message that you have for someone who has just been diagnosed or a parent, you know, their child has just been diagnosed?
Yeah. So I'll start with somebody who's just been diagnosed. You know, it's totally understandable for you to be depressed. It's totally understandable for you to be confused, to feel suicidal, to feel like you don't have a purpose in life, to ask yourself why, to ask God why you, and all of that. It's totally understandable. You've just been diagnosed. It's hard. It must be hard because if you've got a chronic illness, it means that your life's going to change. You know, with us on dialysis, most of us lose our jobs because then you can't work while you're on dialysis. So there's a lot of things that are going to change. I mean, if you know, we've seen, with me being on dialysis for such a long time, I've seen people go from being so happy and positive to just going so depressed.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's totally okay and it's totally understandable. But don't allow yourself to dwell in it. Because the minute you dwell, you're being comfortable in this dark hole that you're in. You know, be sad, be depressed, and allow yourself to feel. You know, it's devastating and it's justifiable for you to be feeling the way you're feeling. But don't allow yourself to dwell in it. You know, after some time, learn as much as you can about your condition so you know you find better ways to deal with it. If you know about your diet, you're not going to make this condition worse. You know, you avoid such things to keep yourself healthy. You know, as the more you learn about the condition and you understand it better, the more you'll have a good quality of life within being sick, you know. So learn as much as you can and just snap out of the depression. It's understandable in the beginning, but don't allow yourself to dwell in it. You know, you still have your dreams, you still have your whole life ahead of you, you still have your family that looks up to you. And, you know, don't just allow the condition to just take everything. It's taken away your health, but don't allow it to take everything away from you. Because if you allow it and you're depressed and you all these things and you allow yourself to be in that dark hole, you're giving it power over you.
True.
And it's one thing that your health is messed up, but now not going after your dreams because you're sick, you're giving it power. So be depressed and finish and snap out of it.
Awesome.
You know?
Do you have anything to share that you feel that we did not touch base on?
No, I think we've covered most.
We've covered most of
yeah.
the things. Just a disclaimer, guys. Please note that everything that is shared on this podcast is from a patient. And I'm saying a patient because I don't like being called a patient, but it is from a patient point of view. Please still seek medical attention.
Doctors,
from a medical profession, please. And if you see any symptoms, we more than welcome to share which hospital.
You go to a GP, you can go to a local clinic,
doctor,
a GP. And then, I mean, like I was saying the other day to say that if you know that you've got family history of hypertension, you are at risk of having kidney disease. So it would be wise for you to just go have yourself checked. You check your kidney function, you check your blood pressures, your sugar diabetes, because sugar diabetes and hypertension are the number 2 leading things that cause chronic kidney disease. So if in the family, one of your family members has it, you are at risk of having it as well. So it would be wise for you to go check. So if you have, you're on medication. If you've got high blood pressure, they start giving you medication to check so that you are not damaging your kidneys in the process.
Yeah.
You know,
Yo, V, thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope that it reaches more people. I know that you are an activist on social media.
Yes.
I hope now that you shared your story, most people become aware of kidney failure.
And then we would have more people considering donating their organs.
Please,
It's
please,
so life
please,
changing.
please,
It's such a beautiful thing. When I had a transplant, I still say that I had the best 2 years of my life when I was transplanted. It's such a life changing experience. And if one person can live with 1 kidney, why not?
Like I said, 1 person can save 8 lives.
8 lives.
Until next time, bye.